Cell membrane structure and function. Modern cell membranes are complex and active boundaries to the environment. Prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell membranes have similar structures. They are phospholipid bilayers. Evidence points to a common ancestor for all cell membranes. A phospholipid has a hydrophilic end and a hydrophobic end. They are amphiphilic. When phospholipids arrange to form a membrane barrier, both the inside and outside of the membrane include water. The evolution of the cell membrane was a major event in the development of life. It provided a confined, controlled compartment necessary for the chemical reactions of life. The membrane actively and passively moves matter into and out of the compartment it surrounds. The reactants and catalysts needed for chemical reactions are concentrated in one protected place. The products of the reactions are retained for use in subsequent reactions. Waste products of the reactions are removed. The main functions of the plasma membrane are selective permeability, protection, and structural support. Modern membranes have been described as a fluid mosaic. They are fluid because the phospholipid molecules flow freely. They are like a mosaic, art made of multicolored tiles, because they have many functional embedded proteins, shown in blue. Passive transport is the movement of molecules and ions, or solutes in water, through a cell membrane without the input of free energy. It occurs where the concentration of a substance is greater on one side of the membrane than the other. This is known as moving with the concentration gradient. There are three types of passive transport: diffusion, osmosis, and facilitated diffusion. Diffusion is the random movement of particles in gas or liquid from an area of high concentration to low concentration. Particles move randomly in all directions, but if there is an uneven distribution of particles in solution, then over time the particles naturally spread out and become evenly distributed. A large drop of blue dye was dropped into a container of water, and after a couple of seconds it looked like this. Osmosis is the net diffusion or flow of water molecules through a semi-permeable membrane into an area of higher solute concentration. This difference in concentration is called the concentration gradient. The net flow of water molecules will go to zero when the solute concentration is the same on both sides of the membrane. Even though the net flow is in one direction or the other, or zero, individual water molecules will continue to move in both directions. Osmosis is a type of passive transport. It requires no energy. As in passive diffusion, particles undergoing facilitated diffusion move from an area of high to low concentration. Unlike passive diffusion, particles cross the membrane with the help of an integral protein. Since the substances are going with their concentration gradient, this is a type of passive transport. No energy is needed. Protein channels make it possible for polar water molecules to diffuse across the membrane. Membrane proteins can act as doorways or movers for nutrients and waste. Passive transport occurs along the concentration gradient from a high concentration of solute to a lower concentration. But what if a cell's concentration of glucose molecules is higher than outside its membrane, and the organism starts a strenuous physical activity? The cell needs more glucose. Passive transport won't work. The membrane requires active transport that also uses membrane proteins, but requires a source of energy. Active transport uses energy to move solutes through a transport protein against their concentration gradients. It takes energy to paddle a boat against the current, but no energy to float with the current. Active transport moves against the current. The source of free energy needed is often ATP, which provides energy for cell processes, and will be discussed in detail later in the course. Active transport proteins may move one or two solutes in either direction or opposite directions across a membrane.